I was screaming. Not out of anger, out of pain. Real raw body-splitting pain. "Ethan, it's time," I gasped, clutching my stomach as another contraction tore through me. He didn't even turn his head from the trunk. He was zipping his suitcase. "Babe, don't be dramatic," he said with a half-smile. "It's early labor. You'll be fine. Mom and I already booked the tickets." Then he kissed his phone, not me, and closed the car door. The sound of that door shutting felt like a verdict. My name is Haley Carter. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever watched the person you love the most walk away? Not because they had to, but because they wanted to? Because that's what Ethan did. He left. He left while I was timing contractions in the passenger seat, parked outside our apartment complex, half-dressed, half-broken, whispering to a baby that didn't deserve this chaos. The pain hit again, harder. I screamed his name, but the sound was swallowed by his car pulling out of the driveway. I don't remember how I got to the hospital. I just remember the blur of headlights, the smell of leather, my trembling hands gripping the steering wheel as I drove myself there. They say when you give birth you find out what real strength is. They're wrong. You find out what real loneliness feels like. Hours later, the nurse handed me my daughter. Small, silent, perfect. And I whispered to her, "It's okay, baby. Mommy's got you." But then my phone lit up. Ethan's name flashed across the screen. 3 hours later. I didn't answer. And when I saw the second call, I smiled through tears. Because some silences speak louder than any scream ever could. When I woke up, sunlight had already found its way through the blinds. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and sorrow. My baby, Luna, was sleeping against my chest, breathing softly, unaware that her father had chosen plane tickets over her first cry. 3 missed calls. 1 voicemail. All from Ethan. "Haley, where are you?" Mom said maybe you're exaggerating, but your car's gone. Call me back. Please." His voice cracked on please. I replayed it twice, not because I missed him, but because I wanted to memorize the sound of his panic. A nurse came in with discharge papers. She smiled like she didn't notice the empty chair beside my bed. "Someone coming to get you?" I smiled back. "No. I'll take a cab." That cab ride felt like driving through the ruins of my old life. Every street we passed whispered memories. Ethan laughing, Ethan promising, Ethan lying. By the time I reached home, I'd already decided something. I wasn't going to cry anymore. The house looked untouched, like time had frozen when he left. His suitcase was gone. His toothbrush was still on the counter. And his mother's framed photo smiled at me from the living room wall, mocking me. I fed Luna, changed her, then opened Ethan's laptop. He never thought I'd look. But grief has a way of making you curious. There was an itinerary. Los Angeles to Cancun. 2 tickets. 1 for him. 1 for Carter. His mother. They were sipping margaritas while I was bleeding alone in a hospital bed. That night, I sat in the nursery, rocking Luna in the dim glow of the baby monitor. Every creak of the rocking chair sounded like a promise forming in my bones. I wasn't going to beg for love anymore. I wasn't going to chase a man who could leave me in labor. He called again. This time I answered. "Haley. Thank God. Are you okay? Where are you?" "Home," I said calmly. You had the baby?" "We did." "Oh my God, that's amazing. We're cutting the trip short, okay? I'll be home in a few days." His voice was full of forced guilt and hollow sweetness. I didn't reply. I just said, "Sure. Take your time." Then I hung up. He had no idea that every word he spoke was being recorded. No idea that when he walked out that door, he didn't just leave a woman behind. He created a storm. And by the time he got home, that storm would have a name. Her name was Haley Carter. When Ethan finally came home, it was raining. The kind of heavy, gray rain that makes everything look honest, even the lies. I heard his car pull into the driveway, tires splashing through puddles. I didn't move. Luna was asleep in her crib, wrapped in a soft pink blanket, her tiny hand resting against her cheek. The world could have burned outside and I wouldn't have cared as long as she was safe. Then the door opened. "Haley." His voice was tentative, like he wasn't sure he belonged there anymore. He didn't. He stepped inside, dripping water onto the hardwood floor, carrying a bouquet of flowers that had already started to wilt. Hey, I'm home. I turned slowly from the kitchen counter. I had spent the morning cleaning the house until every trace of him felt like a stranger's fingerprint. Now it smelled of lemon soap and fresh coffee, not him. Never again him. You're home, I said flatly. He forced a smile. I missed you. I missed her. He peeked toward the nursery. She's sleeping. Oh, right. He hesitated, looking for a hug that didn't come. Instead, I pointed to the dining table. Sit. He frowned. Haley, I know you're angry, but can we just sit? The tone in my voice made him obey. There in front of him was a stack of papers. His laptop was open beside it, the screen glowing with his email inbox. Every confirmation, every receipt from his little trip. Cancun hotels, restaurant bills, beach selfies his mother had posted online. His jaw tightened. You went through my stuff? I went through my life, I said. Turns out you were spending it somewhere else. Haley, it wasn't like that. Mom, she said it would be a short trip. I thought you weren't due yet. Stop talking about what you thought, Ethan. You left your wife in labor. In a car. Alone. He opened his mouth again, but no words came out. Only shame. Or maybe fear. Because that's when he noticed the small black device blinking on the table. A recorder. Haley, what is that? Proof, I said simply. Of everything. Every call, every excuse, every lie. You didn't just walk out on me, Ethan. You walked out on your own child. He ran his hand through his hair. Jesus, Haley. What do you want from me? I smiled, the first real smile I'd had in days. I want you to watch. I pressed play. From the tiny speaker came his own voice. Cruel, casual, joking with his mother on the way to the airport. She'll be fine, Mom. It's not even real labor. Drama queen. He froze. His face turned pale. The rain outside seemed to pound harder, as if it were listening too. When the recording ended, I whispered, "Now you get to live with those words." And I walked away, leaving him with nothing but the sound of his own laughter echoing back at him. He thought that was the end. But the storm was just getting started. Ethan didn't sleep that night. I could hear him pacing through the walls, muttering, begging, replaying his own words over and over in his mind. Each footstep, a hammer striking the coffin of his dignity. Meanwhile, I held Luna close, feeling her tiny heart beat against mine, steady and unbroken. She didn't need a father who abandoned her at birth. She only needed me, and I was enough. By morning, the air had shifted. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was dangerous. Not in a loud, screaming way, but in a way that would quietly, irrevocably change everything he thought he owned. I started small. Every credit card he used for that Cancun trip? Canceled. Every flight, every hotel, every lavish charge under his name? Documented. Photographed. I wasn't just cleaning up the mess he made, I was mapping it. When he appeared in the kitchen, dripping guilt like last night's rain, I didn't look up from my laptop. Haley, I need to explain. I didn't look up. I didn't need to. You can start by admitting you left me alone when I needed you most, I said. My voice was calm, precise, ice under sunlight. Every lie, every excuse, it's all here. His eyes darted to the screen. Then he saw it, spreadsheets. Photos. Emails. Everything. My fury had a blueprint and he was the center of it. Haley, this is crazy, he whispered. I smiled faintly. No, Ethan. This is real. I spent the next days building a life around us. Luna, me, and the truth of what he did. I didn't need him. But I wanted him to watch as I thrived without him. Every laugh he heard in the halls, every moment of happiness he glimpsed through the nursery window, would be mine, and he wouldn't touch it. Then came the first test. A call from his mother. She's acting out, Ethan. You need to do something. I answered. Hello, Mrs. Carter. Yes, I'm doing just fine. Baby and I are happy. But I'd love to schedule a little meeting. Just the three of us. You, me, and your son. Let's see if we can clear up some misunderstandings. She hesitated. I let her. Then, we'll see. We'll see. Perfect. By the time Ethan came home that evening, he found a living room transformed. Photos of Luna everywhere, laughter frozen in frames. Dinner on the table, perfectly cooked, yet no trace of him in our plans. He stared, confused, unsettled. I don't understand. I thought. You thought I'd crumble, I said softly. But the woman you left alone in a car, bleeding, giving birth by herself? She's still here. Stronger than ever. And she's never coming back to the person who abandoned her. For the first time I saw fear in his eyes. Not the fear of punishment. Not even the fear of me leaving. The fear of truth. And that fear was just the beginning. Ethan always bragged about his business. His empire, as he called it. Offices in 3 states, luxury cars, a personal assistant who never questioned him. He built it all on his ego, and now it was time for that ego to crumble. I didn't storm in. I didn't scream. I logged in. Every shared account, every joint venture, accessible. Every contract, every client list, mine to see. And I saw it all. Emails from investors congratulating him on deals he shouldn't have made alone. Expense reports showing dinners, flights, trips, Cancun included. I downloaded every document. Photographed every receipt. Labeled everything. Organized chaos. When he came home that night, he saw me on the laptop, a glass of wine in hand, Luna asleep in the next room. Haley, what are you doing? Checking the books, I said. It's amazing what you can find when you actually pay attention. He laughed nervously. Very funny. You're not serious, right? I looked at him like a lion looks at a hyena. Calm, patient, ready. I'm very serious. And by the way, your clients will be hearing from me soon. What? I said, they'll be hearing from me. Over the next week, I sent carefully worded emails. Nothing illegal. Nothing that could backfire on me. But enough to make him sweat. A gentle nudge here. A polite reminder of overdue invoices. A suggestion that maybe he needed new leadership. A small mention that the person managing accounts now had full access. By Friday, his phone was blowing up. Panic in every text. Investors calling. Managers asking questions he couldn't answer. And when he finally tried to confront me, Haley, what is this? You can't just. Oh, I can. Because while you were on your little getaway, I was building. While you abandoned your wife in labor, I learned. And while you think you're coming back to the same life, everything you built is starting to collapse. Quietly, methodically, irreversibly. He opened his mouth again. I cut him off. I want you to remember the day you left me alone in the car. I want you to feel it in every missed call, every shaken email, every frustrated client. You didn't just leave a wife. You left a target. And now I'm aiming. Ethan's face turned red. Rage mixed with panic. His empire, the thing he worshipped, was no longer his. And all he could do was watch. That night, as I tucked Luna into bed, I whispered to her, one day she'll see that justice doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers, quietly, beautifully, perfectly. And I knew in the silence of our home the storm had begun. Ethan liked to think his mistakes were private. That his betrayal existed in whispers and small resentments, hidden behind closed doors. He was wrong. I arranged a casual dinner with some of his closest business associates, clients, partners, and even a few friends who admired him publicly. I called it a celebration of growth. He called it a surprise. When he walked in, the smile froze on his face. He expected applause, not the steady, measured stare of someone who had catalogued every lie, every neglect, every selfish act. I sat at the head of the table, Luna on my lap. Perfect posture, perfect calm. Everyone, thank you for coming, I began. My voice was soft, yet every word struck like a hammer. Tonight I want to talk about leadership. About responsibility. About integrity. Ethan shifted in his seat, brow furrowed. The first whispers started to circulate around the table. He didn't know why people were exchanging glances. I've had the privilege, I continued, of reviewing some of Ethan's recent projects and management strategies. And, well, let's just say there were some surprises. I pressed play on a tablet. Emails, receipts, screenshots. Cancun luxurious dinners, trips he never mentioned, all while abandoning his wife in labor. The room went silent. Every face in that room, shock, disbelief, judgment. His phone vibrated incessantly on the table, but he didn't dare answer. I looked him in the eye. Ethan, you left someone vulnerable. You left your wife alone in a car while she gave birth. And you thought no one would notice. You thought the world would forgive you because you were successful. But integrity isn't bought with money. It's earned in moments like these. He opened his mouth, but nothing could undo what was happening. Whispers turned into murmurs. Murmurs into discussions. By the end of the night he was isolated at his own celebration, frozen in the corner while his reputation, carefully built over years, cracked in real time. I left the room carrying Luna and whispered softly to her. See that, baby? That's what happens when you hurt the people who matter most. The world doesn't always intervene. Sometimes, it just lets justice unfold quietly, beautifully, perfectly. Ethan never saw me again that night. And when he tried to regain control the next morning, every call he made, every attempt to salvage his image, was met with silence or sharp replies from people he once thought were loyal. I realized then revenge isn't about anger. It's about power. About reclaiming the story he tried to write for me. And I held the pen. The storm was no longer approaching. It had arrived. Ethan thought he could apologize. He thought he could beg. He thought he could erase the humiliation, buy back the respect, and sneak into a life that no longer had a place for him. He was wrong. Started with the small things. I stopped answering his messages. I stopped acknowledging his presence. I rearranged our lives. Luna's routines, our home, everything, so he was constantly reminded that he no longer had a seat at our table. Then came the confrontation. Not in private. Not in whispers. In front of everyone who mattered. Friends, family, business partners. I invited him for a talk about moving forward. And made sure everyone knew. He walked in, confident at first, trying to charm his way in with a smile. But it faltered the moment I stepped forward. Ethan, I said softly, but every word was steel. Do you remember the car? The day I was in labor alone? Do you remember how you laughed, joked about how I'd manage on my own? His eyes darted, seeking a lifeline. There was none. I have that day recorded. Every call, every excuse, every lie. I've shared it. And now, everyone here knows exactly what kind of man you are when the world isn't watching. I let that sink in. I let the silence fill the room like a weight he couldn't lift. People murmured. Some shook their heads. Some looked at him with a mix of disbelief and pity. He had never experienced real accountability. Not until now. Ethan, I continued, I forgave him for my child's sake, but I did not forget. And I did not let him off the hook. You abandoned the most sacred moment in our lives. And now you face it. He tried to speak. His voice trembled. Haley, please. I shook my head. No. There's nothing left for words. Only truth. And the truth is you lost the family you claimed to love. You lost respect. You lost everything you thought was untouchable. He slumped, defeated, and for the first time I saw it. The man he was, broken and powerless, crumbling in front of the people he once commanded. I took Luna's hand, holding her tiny fingers in mine. Justice, I whispered, doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And sometimes, it smiles quietly while the world corrects itself. He would never touch us again. Not physically, not emotionally. Not in reputation. I turned away, carrying Luna into the sunlit hallway, and left Ethan in the echoes of the life he had destroyed and the life I had rebuilt. The storm had passed. And in its wake only strength remained. Ethan thought he could apologize. He thought he could beg. He thought he could erase the humiliation, buy back the respect, and sneak into a life that no longer had a place for him. He was wrong. Started with the small things. I stopped answering his messages. I stopped acknowledging his presence. I rearranged our lives. Luna's routines, our home, everything, so he was constantly reminded that he no longer had a seat at our table. Then came the confrontation. Not in private. Not in whispers. In front of everyone who mattered. Friends, family, business partners. I invited him for a talk about moving forward, and made sure everyone knew. He walked in, confident at first, trying to charm his way in with a smile. But it faltered the moment I stepped forward. "Ethan," I said softly, but every word was steel. "Do you remember the car? The day I was in labor alone? Do you remember how you laughed, joked about how I'd manage on my own?" His eyes darted, seeking a lifeline. There was none. I have that day recorded. Every call, every excuse, every lie. I've shared it. And now, everyone here knows exactly what kind of man you are when the world isn't watching. I let that sink in. I let the silence fill the room like a weight he couldn't lift. People murmured. Some shook their heads. Some looked at him with a mix of disbelief and pity. He had never experienced real accountability. Not until now. "Ethan," I continued, "I forgave him for my child's sake, but I did not forget. And I did not let him off the hook. You abandoned the most sacred moment in our lives. And now you face it." He tried to speak. His voice trembled. "Haley, please." I shook my head. "No. There's nothing left for words. Only truth. And the truth is you lost the family you claimed to love. You lost respect. You lost everything you thought was untouchable." He slumped, defeated, and for the first time I saw it. The man he was, broken and powerless, crumbling in front of the people he once commanded. I took Luna's hand, holding her tiny fingers in mine. "Justice," I whispered, "doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And sometimes it smiles quietly while the world corrects itself." He would never touch us again. Not physically, not emotionally. Not in reputation. I turned away, carrying Luna into the sunlit hallway, and left Ethan in the echoes of the life he had destroyed and the life I had rebuilt. The storm had passed. And in its wake only strength remained.